Vince Gill, one of country music's most enduring and beloved stars, has always done things his own way. And now, as he prepares to receive the prestigious Lifetime Achievement honor at the 2025 CMA Awards, he's doing so with a wink, a joke, and a heartfelt nod to his partner in life and music, Amy Grant. In this video, we'll dig into the full story, how Gill arrived at this moment, what he meant when he quipped his job is being Amy's bitter half, what the broader context of his career and marriage is, how fans are reacting, and what this moment means for two musical icons in tandem. Let's start at the beginning. Vince Gill is 68 years old and has spent roughly 5 decades in country music, steadily building not just a career, but a legacy. He has sold over 30 million records, released 20-plus albums, earned more than 20 Grammy Awards, and become a fixture in the Nashville scene. From his early work through his hosting stints, his membership in the Grand Ole Opry, his songwriting successes, and his constant touring and recording. Meanwhile, Amy Grant emerged in the 1980s as a trailblazer in contemporary Christian music, crossed over into pop, and became a household name in her own right. The two married back in 2000 after both had first marriages and had already built careers, and together they navigated the joys and the challenges of blending families, busy careers, and public life. Now fast forward to November 19th, 2025, the 59th annual CMA Awards held at Nashville's Bridgestone Arena. Vince Gill is being honored with the Willie Lifetime Achievement Award, one of the country world's highest honors, recognizing not just hits or albums, but a body of work and the contribution to the genre's culture and future. At the red carpet, he joked, "You got all the way down to the V's before you found somebody?" He was referring to being the recipient, humble, funny, self-aware. On stage, he accepted the award with characteristic charm, thanking everyone from his management, his band, the Grand Ole Opry family, and his children, and then making a very pointed moment for Amy, calling her the kindest soul I've ever known. But then came the line that's now being replayed. He joked that his real job is being Amy's bitter half. At first glance, it sounded like just a playful wife guy quip, but dig a little deeper and it reveals so much about their dynamic, about his humility, about how two stars might choose to define their partnership, and how in this case, he chooses to define his role. What does he mean by bitter half? In the typical phrase, better half, one spouse is often the celebrator, the public face, the star. The other plays support, behind the scenes, quieter but essential. Vince flips that. He says his job is to be the one making sure things run, to laugh at himself, to defer, to support Amy as she shines, and to accept that sometimes his job is simply to show up, steady, and let her have the spotlight. It's a humble admission from someone who has achieved so much, and it says volumes about marriage, partnership, and identity when you're both heavyweights in the same field. Let's circle back and walk through their story in more detail. How they met, how their lives intertwined, how their careers progressed, and how they weathered health issues, shifting industry landscapes, and personal evolution. Amy Grant and Vince Gill first crossed paths in the early 1990s. At that time, Grant was already a Christian pop pioneer, while Gill was deeply embedded in country music circles. They didn't start a relationship immediately. Life circumstances, marriages, responsibilities intervened. But they remained friends. Eventually, in 1999, after both of them had exited their first marriages, Grant to Gary Chapman, Gill to Janice Oliver, they began dating. They married in 2000. Their daughter Corinna was born in 2001. Grant had 3 children from her first marriage, Matthew, Millie, and Sarah. Gill had a daughter, Jenny, from his previous marriage. The resulting blended family is large and musical, and today often cited as one of the more private but enduring partnerships in the music business. Their career arcs are also singular. For Vince, the breakthrough moment came around 1990 with the single When I Call Your Name, a performance-heavy, emotionally rich song that really put him on the map. Over the years, he racked up hit after hit, collaborations, songwriting credits, and award after award. Host of the CMAs 12 consecutive years at one point, inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2007, and deep in the Nashville and Grand Ole Opry community. For Amy, her early music defined a genre. Then her crossover in the mid-'80s expanded her audience. She became the first Christian pop artist to achieve mainstream success and has always straddled genres: contemporary Christian, pop, country. Now the health journey. In 2020, the couple faced a jarring wake-up call. Amy was diagnosed with a rare congenital heart condition that required open-heart surgery. Shortly afterward, in 2022, she had a serious bike accident that left her with a brain injury. She also underwent throat surgery, relearning how to sing. Through all that, Vince stood by her side, putting tours on hold, being caregiver, encourager, and partner. In his words, it was just one thing after another after another. In hers, Vince is just steady. That ordeal strengthened them, not just as individuals, but as a unit. When you cast that backdrop alongside the bitter half quip, you begin to see that Vince's joke is layered. On one hand, self-effacing humor. Here's a man who has hundreds of songs, millions of fans, lifetime achievements, and says, "My job is to be the bitter half." On the other, a declaration of shared purpose. He chooses that role because he believes in her, because he believes in the partnership, and because in the long game, marriage and family matter as much as trophies. Now let's pause and look at the public reaction. Social media, fan forums, country music news sites, all are buzzing. The visual of Vince receiving the award with Amy by his side, the tribute performance of When I Call Your Name by Brandi Carlile and Patti Loveless, the jokes on the red carpet, they've ignited admiration. One viral post on X, Amy Grant gets superstar and Vince Gill gets bitter half. This is true love in country music form. Others remark how rare it is for two major artists to sustain a marriage, build a blended family, pursue distinct careers, and still show up for each other. Many fans reflect, he could brag, but he chose humility. Many say, that joke turned into a moment of tenderness. It's become not just a story about an award, it's a story about a marriage, a milestone, and a reflection on identity inside artistry. Now let's take a minute to reflect on what this award means for Vince, personally and professionally. The Willie Nelson Lifetime Achievement Award isn't for a single hit or album, it's a lifetime. It acknowledges influence, longevity, contribution, and forward-looking legacy. For Vince, this is recognition not just of past successes, but how he remains relevant, how he collaborates, supports, writes, performs, and contributes to the genre's culture. It ties into his broader project, an EP series titled 50 Years from Home, timed with his half-century in music. So this moment at the November 19th ceremony is more than ceremony. It's a pivot point. He's being celebrated for what's been and what's ahead. And Amy's presence, the family, the health trials, they all situate this moment as deeply personal. And that brings us back to the bitter half. Within the showbiz framing, the spotlight often falls on one star. But here, Vince is saying, I know the spotlight shines on Amy too. I know my role has multiple facets. I support, I stand behind, I keep the train moving, I make sure the kitchen runs while the stage glows. In that light, the phrase is witty, but it's also reverent. It's an acknowledgement that greatness is rarely solo. In his joke, he elevates Amy's greatness and affirms his choice to walk beside her, not always ahead or above. Now, what should viewers know who are less familiar? First, the CMA Awards, Country Music Association Awards, are the major annual awards in country music. On November 19th, 2025, at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, the 59th edition was held, with Vince among its honorees. Second, understanding the phrase lifetime achievement in this context. This isn't a competitive award among this year's songs, it's a nod to the full career. Third, knowing the dynamic between Vince and Amy, his country heritage, her Christian pop crossover background, their shared home in Nashville, and their family.
Fourth, recognizing how health adversity can reshape artists' lives. Never always just glamour, but resilience. And finally, appreciating that this bitter half joke works because it comes from someone who has nothing to prove but chooses to rediscover purpose.
Let's dig deeper into some of Vince's career landmarks. The song When I Call Your Name, 1989-1990, signaled his national breakthrough, a deeply emotional, wide-reaching performance. He has had hits like Go Rest High on That Mountain, Don't Let Our Love Start Slipping Away, Look at Us, and many more. He hosted the CMA Awards many years, 12 in a row, demonstrating how much the industry trusts his voice and character. He's a songwriter's songwriter, a musician's musician. Guitar skills, vocals, songwriting, collaboration. For Amy, songs like Baby Baby, Lead Me, Find a Way established her as a household name. Over time, she pivoted into adult contemporary, worship music, pop, and country crossings. Their synergy becomes interesting. Two artists, similar faith roots, but distinct genres, sharing life, family, craft. Let's expand on the family dimension. Vince has a daughter, Jenny, from his first marriage. Amy has 3 children from her first marriage, Matthew, Millie, and Sarah, and together they share daughter, Karina. Their blended family now includes grandchildren. They've navigated the challenges of busy touring schedules, the fragmentation of public life and private commitments. And then came the health issues. Amy's open heart surgery, 2020, bike accident, 2022, throat surgery, and how all of that could have shaken a couple, but instead seemed to tighten their bond. Imagine the moment. November 19, lights bright. Nashville audience, Vince waiting for his name to be called. He steps on stage to accept the Willie Nelson Award. He looks toward Amy. He says, "More than anything, the woman I'm married to is the kindest soul I've ever known." The tribute performance behind him echoes his landmark song. He chokes about being the only honoree who never smoked weed, a playful nod to Willie Nelson's own legacy. He jokes about how hosting the CMAs 12 years in a row might have been the dumbest thing they ever did. But there is gravity in his voice when he thanks his children, his band, his management, the Grand Ole Opry family, and the Nashville community. Then afterwards in interviews, he says his real job is being Amy's bitter half. That line becomes the headline. A journalist asks, "Does that mean you trade your spotlight for hers?" He smiles. "No," he says, "it means she and I have different jobs, but the same purpose." He laughs, "Some nights I'm out front, some nights I'm back in the woodworks, but I still show up. I still make my part happen. I still make sure our home's okay, our tour plan is okay, our music remains our passion." He's joking, yes, but also being serious. And that duality is part of what makes this story resonate. As viewers, what can we take away? First, success isn't always about being number one. For Vince, it's about longevity, consistency, relationships. Second, marriage at the level of iconic musicians isn't always tabloid drama. It can be quiet strength, mutual respect, and shared growth. Third, artistry evolves. Health scares, life shifts, industry changes, they all matter. Fourth, headlines can come from jokes, but the jokes often reveal the truth. Bitter half is funny, but it underlines humility. It underlines the idea that being the sidekick, in some respects, doesn't mean you're less. It means you're necessary. Let's talk for a bit about the ripple effect in the country music community. Fans have responded with admiration, many posting about how rare it is to see such genuine partnership in the limelight. Industry figures have commented. The CMA CEO said Gill embodies the best of country music, honoring traditions, giving back, staying active. Young artists watching this say, if you want to build a career that lasts, you also have to build a life that lasts. The performance of When I Call Your Name by Brandi Carlile and Patty Loveless during the tribute was a highlight, with many calling it heavenly and a passing of the torch. That moment emphasized how much Gill's peers respect him and how his legacy is living and breathing. We should pause to examine what's next for Gill and Grant. Vince is releasing his EP series 50 Years From Home, the first of which dropped October 17th. At this point in his career, he seems to be reflecting and renewing simultaneously.
Amy is still performing, still recording, her voice rebuilt, her audience evolving. And together, they are still hosts of their annual holiday residency in Nashville, still engaged in their crafts, still part of the community. They speak less about chasing headlines, more about making music, making memories. And meanwhile, this moment, the Lifetime Award, the public quip, the joint spotlight, is a chapter but not the end. It invites us to consider the broader themes. What happens when you've made it? What role do you take then? How do you integrate personal and professional, love and legacy? For Vince, the quip bitter half is his way of saying, I've arrived, yes, but I'm still choosing how to show up. I'm still choosing to serve the art, serve my partner, serve the family. The spotlight is nice, but the light behind the spotlight matters too. As we wrap up, let's take one more moment to imagine. Nashville twilight after the CMA ceremony. The crowd has gone home. Backstage, Vince and Amy step off stage. They share a laugh about his joke. They look at the award, they look at each other. He might say, well, that was something. She replies, you were great. He smiles, no, I was just doing my job as your bitter half. She laughs. And then maybe they step outside, hold hands, drive home to their Tennessee farmhouse or Nashville home, guitars leaning in the corner, family pictures on the wall. Fame is real, but home is still theirs. Music is their joy, but love is their foundation. That kind of ending brings the story full circle. From a young country musician just starting out, to decades of songs and tours, to help scares and challenges, to a Lifetime Achievement Award, to a joke on the red carpet that reveals the heart of the man and the heart of the relationship. It's not just about what Vince Gill has done, it's about who he is and who he is with. The man who receives one of country's highest honors and yet still jokes his job is to support his wife, still stands by her side, not behind her, but beside her, and still sees marriage, music, and life as the full package. If you're tuning in now, you're part of that audience. You're witnessing not just an awards moment, but a human moment, a joke, a tribute, a legacy, and a love story. So thank you for watching this deep dive into Vince Gill's latest milestone, his relationship with Amy Grant, and what the bitter half line reveals about both of them. If you enjoyed this, if you want more behind-the-scenes celebrity music stories, more country music features, more deep looks at artists' lives, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss future uploads. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more celebrity updates just like this.